अब हो गया, बैठिए. After 6 o'clock.
Honorable Speaker, ma'am, I stand before
शाम को.
this House to open the discussion of on the motion of thanks on behalf of my colleagues. आदरणीय अध्यक्ष जी, सर्वप्रथम तो मैं माननीय महामहिम राष्ट्रपति जी को धन्यवाद देना चाहती हूं कि उन्होंने अपने अभिभाषण में देश हित को लेकर अनेक महत्वपूर्ण मुद्दे उठाए एवं मुख्य बिंदुओं पर चर्चा की और हम सबको उन्हें सुनने का मौका मिला. To begin from the beginning, Honorable Speaker, ma'am, India for long.
सदन में शांति रखे सब लोग. Yes.
India for long was at the cusp of reaching the pinnacle of global leadership as a major epicenter of economic, military and soft power. Yet, years became decades and that did not happen. In spite of all advantages in the form of democracy, demography and demand, somewhere India remained mired in its own problems. The world kept waiting for us, but we were too reluctant to board the bus. It was not pacifism, but also some sort of fascination for some illusionary socialistic model that brought India down in the early 90s. The beginning of the new millennium did offer many opportunities and major opportunities for India to take the pole position. Global politics was changing, Asia was becoming the hub of manufacturing, and China was racing past the West. Once again, India was poised. The telecom revolution, the golden quadrilateral projects were some projects which did shape up India to an extent, yet for decades since then, India did not board the bus once again. Policy paralysis, rampant corruption, appeasement politics, nepotism, red tapeism, and giving priority to populistic measures rather than the real welfare issues became the policy of this country, and which put India in a very poor light, and the future looked really bleak. When Shri Narendra Modi's government took over the mantle, India was known more for corruption than anything else. The 2G scam, CWG scam, coal scam, and the list of scams just goes on. And that became the talking point for the world. Investors were shying away from investing in India. Modernization of armed forces was pending for a decade. There was lack of optimism both within the country, inside the country, and outside the country. It was then the Narendra Modi government emerged. Honorable Speaker, ma'am, I take this opportunity to put forward some of the initiatives of this government to fulfill the aspirations of 126 crore Indians. India became the fastest growing economy. Our governance paradigm seeks to undertake development for each and every section of this country and of this society. Our goal is to reach out to poorest of the poor and every section of society and remotest corner of the country, and ensure delivery of services and effective policy making in this regard. Economic development alongside social justice in a time-bound manner needs coordination and efficient implementation through all stakeholders, be it states, local governments, businesses, NGOs, and most importantly, people of this nation. The process has been slow because of the enormity of the situation and the task ahead. Reforms is a relatively slow but effective methodology for achieving the goals. It requires constructive blending of skills, capital, and reform mechanisms. In this regard, whether it's the area of skilling, it's the area of getting investments, or having reformist attitude towards various reform mechanisms or regulatory mechanism, the government has actually been very serious and is working towards that. The Government of India's centerpiece program for changing or transforming the country is actually Make in India. Make in India has three major parts: the construction, infrastructure, railways, and defense. And these three, along with telecom sector, are going to transform the way our country progressed till now and is likely to progress in future. The paradigm shift to transform India is definitely, we are inching towards our goals, and India is likely to become the global manufacturing powerhouse. Since its launch, the Prime Minister, Mr. Modi, has pulled all steps, all full stops for the global participation in India's story. In recently concluded Make in India Week in Maharashtra, projects worth 8 lakh crores have been inked. More than 2 lakh jobs thus shall be created. Our manufacturing landscape is in the process of rapid reforms, whereas ease of doing business is facilitated by government, and many state governments have their own transformatory objective to achieve and participate in nation building. The related business with respect to Make in India is integration of various opportunities which are available to business houses, respective states, and national international stakeholders to provide win-win situation and economic climate for all. Some of the proposals in Make in India program include direct tax exemptions for the first 3 years for MSMEs, tax holiday for local manufacturing of defense, aerospace products, SOP for R&D, tax benefits to attract electronic and telecom manufacturers, amongst others. The program designed to facilitate investment, foster innovation, enhance skill development, protect intellectual property, and build best-in-class manufacturing infrastructure. The Make in India initiative has created fans and admirers both domestically and internationally, and global leaders are also admiring this process. The world is eager to partner India in this initiative. The Make in India recognizes ease of doing business and as an important factor to promote entrepreneurship. A number of initiatives have already been undertaken to ease business environment. Steps are being undertaken to de-license, deregulate the industry during the entire life cycle of the business. High-value industrial sectors are sought to be created, and FDI liberalization has actually brought in FDI in this country. And to specify a few statistics, FDI cap raised from 26% to 49%, portfolio investment in defense sector permitted up to 24% under the automatic route, and 100% FDI allowed in defense sector for modern and state-of-art technology on case-to-case basis. 100% FDI in automatic route is permitted in construction, operation, and maintenance in specified rail infrastructure. India today is $2 trillion economy in terms of GDP, and more than $8 trillion economy in terms of purchasing power parity. If one looks across the globe, very few countries are today poised to take the quantum leap in terms of economic growth as India is poised. Efforts of the present government to outline Make in India as the focal point of India's development is much appreciated. India became the largest recipient in FDI in the first half of 2015, and around 31 billion of FDI has come into India. India climbed 5 notches to the 130th rank in the latest 2015 UNDP report on account of rise in life expectancy and per capita income. Despite adverse international conditions, India's GDP is poised to grow at 7% per annum. With inflation figures much below 5% and healthy domestic economic climate, India is fast emerging as a world leader in economic sphere. In recent quarter, Indian manufacturing output grew by 9.3%. The Indian Railways got rupees 40,000 crore deal with GE to make electric and diesel automotive locomotive in India in collaboration with Railways is a great example of how Make in India has started showing results. When we discuss the issues regarding railways, I must bring up HOG. This is head over generation, which are at a smaller level the railways has initiated, in which the extra carriage capacity is taken care of, windmill, renewable energy, electricity, transforming the railway travel, various initiatives that are being constantly undertaken by railways, and Make in India is taking shape through railways, and railways is becoming an engine to drive the economy forward. The dynamic nature of our export-import regime needs quick and assertive decision-making, upholding our domestic demands. Export in certain items have declined in the recent quarter. For some analysts, that's a cause of concern, but it is not so, because similarly, exports, when the exports have declined, imports have also declined. Our trade imbalance gap, which used to be very high, is reduced drastically. This is because domestic manufacturing is picking up, and we must support such a scenario as it generates more employment for the aspirational youth of India. Despite 2 consecutive years of rain shortfall and drought in many parts of the country, we could still administer a smooth and unhindered supply of food grains. Our farmers stood up to their mission and ensuring quality agriculture produce at all times. One of the serious challenges of this government is its inheritance of agrarian crisis, which we have inherited from the previous years. Farmer suicide is another issue we simply cannot ignore. The crisis has been for decades. Therefore, solution also requires a little more time, but every stakeholder has to be on board to deal with this particular aspect. All the state governments must come forward to support this cause, and let's ensure that agrarian crisis does not take the better of our brave farmers. Our agro infrastructure comprises of many stakeholders, which also include banks, local governments, commodities, markets, and the farmers. Suitable climatic conditions, availability of irrigation, water and fertilizer has been the priority. The solution therefore needs a coordinated approach amongst all the stakeholders, the local government, the state government, central government, commodity markets, and also the farmers themselves. The soil health card, fertilizer, urea especially labeled with neem compensation for farmers of drought-affected area are some of the many initiatives which have been undertaken by this government. आदरणीय डेप्यूटी स्पीकर महोदय, प्रधानमंत्री फसल बीमा योजना एक ऐसी योजना है जिससे कृषि में बहुत ही बड़ा बदलाव आने वाला है और खास तौर पर उस मजबूर किसान के लिए जिसको कभी भी पूर्ण रूप से कॉम्पेंसेशन तक नहीं मिलता था और मुआवजा पूरा नहीं मिलता था। इस योजना के तहत डिजास्टर की जो परिभाषा है, आपदा की परिभाषा को बदला गया है और इस स्कीम को बेहतर बनाने के लिए लगातार जो पुरानी स्कीम की अच्छी चीजें थी उनको रखा गया है और जो खामियां थी उनको पूरा करने की कोशिश की गई है। इस स्कीम के तहत जो राशि किसान को देनी है वो बहुत कम है और नई नई तकनीकें जिसमें मोबाइल फोन और जो नुकसान हुआ है उसकी बेहतर असेसमेंट हो सके और एक सही समय के अनुसार पूर्ण रूप से मुआवजा किसान को पहुंचाया जा सके। इस स्कीम के तहत 8,800 करोड़ रुपया बीमा के माध्यम से इंश्योरेंस प्रीमियम को पूरा करने के लिए रखा गया है और जिससे अधिक से अधिक जो फसल का इलाका है, एरिया है, उसकी भरपाई के लिए काम किया जा रहा है। सबसे कम प्रीमियम और सबसे बेहतर रिजल्ट वाली ये योजना अपने आप में एक ऐतिहासिक कदम है स्वतंत्र भारत के लिए। मात्र 2% खरीफ की जो फसलें हैं उनको देना है, जिसमें भोजन से संबंधित उत्पाद और तिलहन शामिल है और केवल 1.5% रबी की फसलों के लिए रखा गया है और 8,800 करोड़ की जो इंश्योरेंस या बीमा स्कीम है उसके तहत हर तरीके की आपदा को सम्मिलित किया गया है। बाकी का जो पैसा है प्रीमियम का वो केंद्र सरकार भरपाई करेगी और 50% जो फसल का इलाका है 194.40 लाख हेक्टेयर उसको इसके तहत कवर किया गया है। ये स्कीम आने वाले खरीफ के मौसम में जो कि जून से शुरू होता है तब इसको लागू किया जाएगा और बीज डालने से आखिरी कटाई तक का जो समय है और उसके बीच जो भी नुकसान अगर किसी किसान का होता है उसकी भरपाई के लिए यह कदम उठाया गया है। इसमें ऊपर की कोई भी लिमिट नहीं है और जो बकाया 90% है वो सरकार द्वारा भरपाई की जाएगी। इसी प्रोविजन के तहत सबसे कम इंस्टॉलमेंट देने पर, सबसे कम पेमेंट देने पर सबसे अधिक लाभ की ये जो स्कीम है उससे किसानों का नुकसान लगातार कम होगा और जिस प्रकार से डेट या ऋण के कारण जो आत्महत्या किसान करते हैं उस पर भी इसका बहुत बड़ा प्रभाव पड़ेगा और ताकि फोन की टेक्नोलॉजी, सैटेलाइट टेक्नोलॉजी और तमाम तरीके की बेहतरीन टेक्नोलॉजीज का इस्तेमाल करके किसानों को तुरंत इसकी जो मुआवजे की कीमत है वो वापस पहुंचाई जाए, जल्द से जल्द उसका भुगतान किया जाए, ऐसी सरकार की मंशा है। किसानों के ध्यान को ही सामने रखते हुए एक्सपोर्ट इंपोर्ट पॉलिसी पर भी काम करने की जरूरत थी, जिसमें वैल्यू एडेड इनिशिएटिव्स लिए गए हैं और जितनी भी एग्रीकल्चर प्रोड्यूस है उससे किसानों को पूरे अंतरराष्ट्रीय बाजार में लाभ मिल सके, इस पर काम किया जा रहा है। ऑर्गेनिक फार्मिंग, use of technology for irrigation with better quality seeds and will enhance the productivity and benefit all the stakeholders. A robust pricing mechanism which seeks to eliminate hoarders and middlemen from the system will ensure effective delivery. इन सब के साथ जैसा कि मैंने पहले भी कहा कि लगातार भिन्न स्टेक होल्डर्स के बीच एकजुट होकर काम करने की आवश्यकता है ताकि बिचौलियों को इस पूरी साइकिल से समाप्त किया जा सके और जो लोग लगातार ब्लैकमेल और इस तरीके की ब्लैक मार्केटिंग में जुड़ते हैं, चाहे प्याज का मौसम हो तो प्याज, आलू हो तो ये आलू, दाल हो तो दाल, उस सब को समाप्त किया जाए और पूरा एक यूनिफाइड बाजार क्रिएट किया जा सके इस देश के अंदर। सरकार लगातार उसके प्रति जागरूक है और काम कर रही है। फॉरेन पॉलिसी इनिशिएटिव में भी सरकार ने बेहतरीन काम किया है और जिसका लाभ हमें सब तरफ से मिल रहा है। On the foreign policy initiative, the government has done excellent job. The Make in India mantra, coupled by aggressive campaign, has made India a respectable and trustworthy destination for many international players to do business with. Barring a few glitches with our neighborhood, but our neighborhood is far more secure and safe. Our diplomatic community have done a splendid job in upholding the tenets of our national interest while dealing with friendly and sometimes hostile regimes of the world. Our engagement with United States, France, China, Russia, Japan, United Kingdom has improved manyfold. India's viewpoint and concerns are articulated effectively in international events. We therefore negotiated the climate change and COP21 very successfully. Our foreign direct investment has almost doubled. The recently concluded International Navy Fleet Review was a super success. Many countries have realized to come together to fight against terrorism. This government has set up robust mechanisms to exchange intelligence, information, and prevent terrorist attacks. And to an extent, the example was set up by Pathankot. It was the worst form of terror attack on India, and if compared with 26/11, we handled it very differently. The Swachh Bharat scheme has raised our collective consciousness towards a clean and green environment. The various components of the schemes are beginning to show results. More than 8 lakh toilets have been built in schools and rural areas. It is slow but effective campaign which will transform our country into clean and safe place to live in. The Swachh Bharat campaign has a major component of health, and it specifically affects the health of young children and women in particular. So the entire focus having shifted to Swachh Bharat, where a lot of investment from private and government bodies is coming, and the collective consciousness has actually led to a better environment, and a lot of work needs to be done, and we are on the right track. I am glad to inform this House that more than 95% of our citizens are connected with Aadhaar card. Most of them are connected to their Jan Dhan accounts as well, which enables this government to deliver services effectively. So all the intermediaries who were not working towards letting the benefits pass on to the ones who needed it the most, the Aadhaar card initiation has helped, and the biggest example was the example when this particular scheme was utilized during Chennai flood to deliver the services. Our social insurance schemes have helped the poor and downtrodden. The Beti Bachao, Beti Padhao scheme is gradually transforming our communities towards support for gender equality while creating social awareness towards such sensitive issues. आजकल हरियाणा कुछ समय पहले किसी और विषय के लिए खबरों में था, लेकिन जो सबसे बड़ा अचीवमेंट हरियाणा का है वो बेटी बचाओ बेटी पढ़ाओ में मेरे अनुसार रहा, जहां पर 817 का रेशो होता था 1000 पुरुषों पर वो आज बढ़कर 899 हो चुका है मात्र 1 साल के भीतर। और सरकार ने खास तौर पे केंद्र सरकार की स्कीम को जिस तरीके से हरियाणा सरकार ने लागू किया, उसके लिए मैं अपनी सरकार का धन्यवाद देना चाहती हूं कि बेटी बचाओ बेटी पढ़ाओ जैसी योजना के तहत जब आप लोगों के बीच में जागरूकता से काम करते हैं और सब स्टेक होल्डर्स मिलकर काम करते हैं तो नतीजे बहुत जल्दी आप सबके सामने आते हैं। The recently launched Startup India and Stand Up India schemes seek to focus on risk-free employment activity supported by the administration through single window approval mechanism. These schemes are channelizing the entrepreneurial energies of our youth, women and backward classes and creating a productive employment. Skill development of our human capital has been a key area where a lot of work is being done. Incentives for skill development centers by way of finance, technical know-how and integration with the industry has yielded desired results. आज मुझे लगता है कि अगर सबसे बड़ा कोई सामाजिक कार्य हो सकता है तो वो युवाओं को हुनर देने का कार्य हो सकता है। और इस हुनर के कार्यक्रम में सरकार ने एक बेहतरीन कदम उठाया है और युवा शक्ति को आगे लाकर अपने सम्मान के साथ खड़ा करने की कोशिश की है। और हुनर पर जिस तरीके से ध्यान दिया गया है वो इस सरकार काबिले तारीफ है, because Skill India can actually change the way our systems operate, and for India to become a global player, whether in economic market or any other market, we need skilled youth force. And skilled youth force can only be guaranteed by governmental intervention, and I can very proudly exhibit that the government has worked very hard towards skilling the youth and bringing forward the required youth and getting them required employment in this process. Government has allocated more than 7,000 crores to develop smart cities. By the year 2020, people's participation with all the stakeholders will make it possible. The concerned ministries have rolled out ambitious roadmaps in the coming months and years to ensure speedy implementation of smart city project. Honorable Speaker, ma'am, on all the fronts, the biggest drawback in the past systems and the one which led to corruption of various kinds was the banking system. So banking system had to be improved and banking facilities had to be brought in, because a lot of people talked about inclusive India, rights for the poor, but there was no inclusion happening on the ground. But this government has taken some serious steps for inclusive development and including all the people who really needed it. An improvement on the banking sector has been one of the major achievements, according to me, of this government. 2015 में भारत सरकार मुद्रा बैंक लेकर आई और उसका जो सबसे बड़ा उद्देश्य था वो उन लोगों तक पैसा पहुंचाना जो लोग 42-48% जीडीपी के हिस्सेदार होते हैं, लेकिन उनके लिए आज तक कोई स्कीम नहीं थी। और वो छोटा मोटा रोजगार करने वाले लोग, चाय की दुकान चलाने वाले लोग, सिलाई का काम करने वाले लोग, लेकिन उनकी बेहतरी के लिए किसी सरकार ने कभी नहीं सोचा था और कोई स्कीम नहीं बनाई थी। और इस सरकार ने मुद्रा बैंक के द्वारा उन लोगों तक पहुंचने की कोशिश की, क्योंकि अधिकतर लोन फैसिलिटीज उन बड़े बिजनेसमैन को मिलती थी, उन बड़े इंडस्ट्रियलिस्ट को मिलती थी जो बैंक्स को पैसा ही नहीं लौटा पाते थे और एनपीए के लिए भी जिम्मेवार है। लेकिन जो लोग ईमानदारी से काम कर पैसा लौटाना चाहते हैं और अपनी जिंदगी गुजर बसर करना चाहते हैं, स्कीम नहीं थी, लेकिन के द्वारा सरकार ने इस काम को करने की कोशिश की है और 5.7 जो माइक्रो और स्मॉल बिजनेसेस हैं उन तक पहुंचने के लिए एक इंस्टीट्यूशनल फंड क्रिएट किया है। 5.7 करोड़ माइक्रो यूनिट्स जो कि 12 करोड़ लोगों को सीधे तौर पर रोजगार देते हैं और अगर उनके परिवारों की संख्या जोड़ी जाए तो तकरीबन 30-32 करोड़ लोग इस पर आश्रित हैं। इनके लिए सही तरीके से मदद हो सके, फाइनेंशियल मदद हो सके और सही ऋण प्राप्त इनको कराया जा सके, इसके लिए सरकार ने काम किया। आरबीआई ने 10 ऐसे स्मॉल फाइनेंस बैंक्स को घोषित किया और 11 पेमेंट बैंक्स को। सुबह मैं सुन रही थी कि एक प्रश्न के जवाब में उत्तर आ रहा था कि कोई पेमेंट बैंक नहीं है, तो इंडिया पोस्ट को भी ऐसा आदेश दिया गया है और पेमेंट बैंक का लाइसेंस उनको दिया गया है। जनधन योजना में जो कि 30 सितंबर 2015 को 76.81 ऐसे खाते थे जो जीरो बैलेंस वाले थे या जिनमें कोई भी धन नहीं पहुंचा था और कोई ट्रांजैक्शन नहीं थी, वो आज दिसंबर के महीने में घटकर मात्र 32% रह गया है और 20 करोड़ इन खातों के द्वारा 30,000 करोड़ इनमें डिपॉजिट किया गया है, जमा किया गया है। प्रधानमंत्री फसल और जीवन बीमा योजनाएं सब लोग उससे परिचित हैं, लेकिन ये ऐसी योजनाएं हैं कि जो गरीब से गरीब तबके को लाभ पहुंचाने के लिए लाई गई हैं और मात्र 1 रुपया रोज और 12 रुपया सालाना, इस तरीके की जो बीमा योजनाएं हैं उनका लाभ दो योजनाएं हैं ना, एक बीमा और एक जीवन बीमा 360
और 12 रुपया
जो दुर्घटना योजना है, वो योजनाएं आज तक इस देश के गरीब को कभी उपलब्ध नहीं थी। पहली बार इस सरकार ने गरीबों के लिए ऐसी योजना लाई जिसका लाभ गरीब से गरीब व्यक्ति को मिल सके। और प्रधानमंत्री कौशल विकास योजना, जिसके विषय में मैं पहले भी बोल चुकी हूं, उसमें ऐसे सक्सेसफुल कैंडिडेट जो कि इस कौशल विकास से पढ़कर बाहर निकलते हैं उनको भी लाभ मिलेगा और साथ ही 5 से लेकर 1.5 लाख रुपए तक का जो उनको पैसा दिलवाया जाएगा सरकार के माध्यम से और 34 लाख युवा इसका लाभ उठा पाएंगे, जो कि अगले 5 साल की हमारी योजना है। डिजिटल इंडिया एक ऐसा कार्यक्रम है जिसमें लगातार सरकार कोशिश कर रही है कि बेहतरीन से बेहतरीन सिस्टम इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर इस देश में खड़ा हो सके। और सुबह प्रश्न के उत्तर में मंत्री जी ने बताया भी कि किस प्रकार से क्या हमारे पास मिला हमको और कहां तक हम उसको ले आए और कितना केबल नेटवर्क को बढ़ाया गया और योजनाबद्ध तरीके से अधिक गांव तक को इससे कनेक्ट करने की कोशिश हुई। सो 2.5 लाख 2.5 लाख गांव इससे जुड़े हैं। डिजिटल इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर is a necessity, utility for every Indian, whether it's through public cloud, cyber security, bank account, common service centers, broadband highways, इन सब का लाभ जो है वो गवर्नेंस और सर्विसेज के माध्यम से दिया जा रहा है और हर नागरिक को अधिक से अधिक इसका लाभ मिले, सिस्टम के अंदर पारदर्शिता आए और उस लाभ के कारण हम भ्रष्टाचार को भी समाप्त कर पाएं, ऐसी सरकार की इच्छा है। डिजिटल इंडिया प्रोग्राम ने 4.5 लाख करोड़ इन्वेस्टमेंट के माध्यम से प्राप्त किया है और 18 लाख रोजगार नए क्रिएट किए गए हैं। प्रधानमंत्री आवास योजना जो कि जून 25, 2015 को लागू की गई, इस योजना में लोगों को बेहतर घर मिल सके, इसके लिए 305 शहर और कस्बे उनको चिन्हित किया गया है और 9 ऐसे राज्य जहां पर इस स्कीम को इंप्लीमेंट किया जाने वाला है। Even in the power sector, when NDA came to power, the condition of coal supply in the country was precarious, with many power plants shutting down and had critically low reserve of coal. Supplies were not being able to match up to the demand. Today, the situation of power sector has witnessed massive improvement. Coal India's coal production has reached a level of 336 million tons. Many of the critical issues of power sector, especially with respect to coal supply and power transmission, has been taken care of. The ministry has added 22,566 megawatt of electricity generation capacity. Out of 20,830 megawatt is the thermal sector alone. The government has a target of generation of 100 gigawatt of solar power by 2022. The target has now been split into 40 gigawatt The target has for now been split into 40 gigawatt of rooftop and 60 gigawatt through large and medium scale grid connected solar power projects, and is expected to entail an investment of 6,000 billion. The overall target is of generation of 175 gigawatt of renewable energy by 2022. Solar Alliance is another success which India has been able to achieve. Deen Dayal उपाध्याय ग्राम ज्योति योजना एक ऐसी योजना है जिसके तहत 24 घंटा 7 दिन पावर सप्लाई हर घर को गांव देहात में मिल सके, उस पर काम किया गया और इस स्कीम के माध्यम से 18,500 गांव को 3 साल के भीतर बिजली पहुंचाने का कार्यभार लिया गया है। 3,500 ऐसे होंगे जिनको ऑफ ग्रिड रिन्यूएबल एनर्जी प्राप्त होगी और 5,500 गांव ऐसे हैं जिनको इलेक्ट्रीफाई किया गया इन द करंट फिस्कल टिल नाउ अंडर द दीनदयाल उपाध्याय ग्राम ज्योति योजना। एग्जेम्पशन और वो सब चीजें हमको खास तौर पे टैक्सेशन को सुविधाजनक बनाया गया है ताकि अधिक से अधिक लोग मैन्युफैक्चरिंग हब की तरफ जाएं। लेकिन इसी बीच एक और अच्छा बेहतर संदेश है हम सबके लिए कि जापान ने तय किया है $12 बिलियन का पैकेज हिंदुस्तान में इन्वेस्ट करने का, जो कि लॉन्ग टर्म भारत को फायदा पहुंचाएगा और बुलेट ट्रेन को भी लेके आएगा। इस वॉलेटाइल ग्लोबल एनवायरनमेंट के मध्य भी भारत लगातार बेहतरी की ओर बढ़ रहा है और जिस तरीके की अपेक्षाएं इस सरकार के साथ थी, लगातार इस सरकार ने उसको क्रियान्वित कर अपने जनमानस का विश्वास प्राप्त किया है और उसी पर कार्य करती जा रही है। So far as threats are concerned, threats to India exist from both state and non-state actors. Initiatives are being taken for capacity building of the law enforcement agencies. And in spite of volatility across the world, India has remained relatively stable. Apart from an impressive growth rate, it continues to have healthy forex reserve of more than $350 billion. Major initiatives have been taken to root out corruption, in FDI, we have removed the restriction in tea plantation as well, and defense sector, it has been raised from 26% to 49%. मैं इससे जब हम लोग छोटे थे तो हर कहानी में जो फेरी टेल्स होती थी उसमें कोई ना कोई विच जरूर होती थी, किसी ना किसी अच्छी कहानी में कोई ना कोई दैत्य राक्षस जरूर होते थे, और जब बड़े हुए तो ऐसा प्रतीत हुआ कि हर एक ग्रोथ स्टोरी के साथ कुछ ना कुछ ग्लिचेस जरूर होती हैं. So while this is the growth story of the country, we do have certain glitches, and the glitches come from people who sometimes use the name of Baba Saheb Ambedkar to cause the vivisection of the country. Let me remind them that Baba Saheb was a nationalist. He was a patriot and not a secessionist. He was reformist with a cause and not a rebel without a cause. And his views on Jammu and Kashmir, he never saw it as a problem, but he saw it as a solution. While a lot of people wanted to protect the interest of some particular section, he wanted to protect the interest of the nation he served, and he thought that was paramount. For some solution had to come from a particular leader in Kashmir, but for Baba Saheb, the solution was available in the constitution and ethos of this land. When we look at various opinions in various universities, I miss the nationalistic opinion of Baba Saheb Ambedkar, and that really haunts me, that where has country gone from 47, 50 to now. When we discuss certain atrocities of certain kind, a specific state I will like to mention, Kerala. The atrocities on campus are constantly forgotten, and the regressive policies of the left actually have tried to whitewash its brutalities. And constant attempts have been made to deface nationalistic politics. I will. Okay, sir, I will cite. No, I will cite. I have a list. Yeah. Durga Das, P.S. Anu, Sujit, Kim Karunakaran, Bimbi, Muruganda, Vishal, Sachin, Gopal. These are the names of young students and young people who have been murdered on the campus, and in the most Talibanite fashion. So these are not allegations. These people are executed in cold blood, in Talibanic fashion. Bestial mindset can be judged. By the morbid and ghastly murder of Jai Krishan Master. While a young person who committed suicide, one can understand the pain he was undergoing. And the worst steps which have taken is unjustifiable. But at the same time, highlighting a tragedy as a leftist love for Dalits is wrong. I wish to take them back to 2010. The Karakaran Vinish, a Dalit youth, was murdered when LDF was in power, and his dead body was left hanging in the Talibanic model of execution. Vinish's family continues to fight for justice. Have you heard of Deepa Mohan Das? Deepa Mohan Das, a PhD scholar who was harassed by Marxist goons, a Marxist syndicate operating in Kottayam, Megha, Kaladi, battered by SFI and have left her blind.
Please, this is not the way. You
The
can speak when
contemptuous-
your turn comes.
All I'm trying to exhibit is the contemptuous attitude these people have towards the progress of the nation. The contemptuous attitude these people have towards the development of the nation. On one side, the economy is doing extremely well. On the other side, they keep raising these issues to derail the development agenda. And everywhere one can see this, that the attitude, I actually want to tell some, Kiss of Love campaigners, the regressive campaigners, the Kerala couple, Rahul Pashupatan and his wife Rashmi Nair, were arrested for being involved in sex racket and indulging in pedophilia, running under the guise of online marketing. Now these are the people who constantly haunt the agenda of development, and these are the people who have hypocritical attitude. Most hilarious are the rules and regulations. Most hilarious are the rules and regulations of Palikudam, a school run by Miss Mary Roy, mother of famous ultra-left Arundhati Roy, which prescribes the distance between boys and girls to be 1 meter at all time. This is the kind of rules and regulation these people propagate. आदरणीय अध्यक्ष जी, मैं अपना भाषण मैं पहले धन्यवाद देना चाहती हूँ और सहमति प्रकट करना चाहती हूँ जिस प्रकार से राष्ट्रपति जी ने देश के मुद्दों को सामने रखा और सरकार के किए हुए काम का व्याख्यान किया, लेकिन जो लोग भारत के झंडे का अपमान करना चाहते हैं तो मैं उनको सिर्फ याद दिलाना चाहती हूं कि झंडा हमेशा डंडे के ऊपर लगाया जाता है और जिस प्रकार व्यक्ति को खड़ा होने के लिए रीढ़ की हड्डी की जरूरत होती है, ये डंडा वही काम करता है और डंडे का मतलब रूल ऑफ लॉ है। तो कानून के तहत जो उल्लंघन करेगा उसको वो सजा दी जाएगी। बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद।